So what is a good sound for church? Well, that will of course depend which type of music you play in your church. The church I go to, we play a lot of rock, things such as Hillsong, Bethel Elevation. So there's a lot of distortion, a lot of delays and reverbs. So I'll show you guys how I set my sound for that type of music, and hopefully it will give you some ideas. Now, when we go to church, we have, let's say, faster songs, and then we have slower songs. So I have two different sounds. I'll show how I do, let's say, faster songs. When you talk about sound, the very first thing before any effect is which guitar do we use. This is my go-to guitar. It is a Suhr Standard. I have two humbuckers which I can split, and then they become single coils. So this is the single coil sound. That's the humbucker. Be fatter. So it's kind of like a Stratocaster type of sound. A lot of people use Telecasters or Gretsch. They are even more popular than this one, this model here. But I like this one. That's the one I use. Now, when you talk about effects, now keep in mind, it's very personal. Some people might prefer buy individual pedals. I have like a digital pedal board. I use a Fractal. I think they're great because all the effects are there. You have a lot of options. You have a lot of amp simulators that you can use. You don't need to bring an amp. You just show up with your pedal board and you can go straight into the system. So I like. Now, sound-wise, effect-wise, this is my clean guitar. Now, the first thing I have is a compressor. I think that's something you don't need to worry about. I like because it makes with the compressor I can hit very strong or very soft, and I think it squishes the sound. It doesn't go too loud or too quiet. It kind of balances. So I like. A lot of people don't use it, but I like it. Now, the other thing I use is a reverb. Now, I think to me this is the most important. This is my favorite by far. Reverb is, if I had to choose one effect, reverb would be it. And for that style, you gotta use a lot of reverb. For example, I wouldn't use that amount of reverb to play funk. I think it makes it too wet. For example, I don't think that works. But for worship, yeah, I think sounds well. After the reverb, I have a delay, and I have two types of delays. So this one here is what we call a stray delay. So that means if the beat is this 1, 2, 3, 4, the delay will be 1, 2, 3, 4. The way I set is very high, but it dies soon. So it's almost as loud as my guitar, but it lasts a few seconds, 2-3 seconds, and it dies. Especially if you're playing with a band, you can hear maybe the first repeat, you won't be able to hear the rest because the other instruments you cover. Now, apart from that, the second delay I use is a dotted 8. So if that's the click, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives this 2, 3, 4. It feels a little more. Again, I set very high, like as loud as my guitar, but it also dies soon. It doesn't die as fast as the straight delay. This one lasts a little longer, but I don't like keeping the delay sounding for too long because you are playing a song, the chord will change, so I don't like when the sound of this chord overlaps the second chord, so that's why I set to die very, very soon. It's loud, but it dies quick. Now, after the delays, then it comes the overdrives or drives. So the first one I have is this one here. I'll take the delay off so you can hear just the drive. Some people call this even a crunchy sound. That's with the humbuckers. And if I go on the bridge pickup, then it sounds a little heavier, but not that much. So changing the pickups here, you can change the amount of drive you have. Now this one here is if I'm doing some type of rhythm guitar, like something here. If I want something a little heavier, let's say the acoustic guitar is playing here. Something I'd be doing would be something like here. like that, especially if I go high here. So let's say we have a song where the rhythm guitar is, I'd go high here, or even muting. So I have that one. Now for lead lines, I use two sounds. One thing that I notice is, maybe because it's me, all the sounds I set here, they kind of sound close. So it's not much difference, but that's the one that I use for lead line. It is quite heavy, like there's a lot of gain, and it's fat, so I think. I like how it sounds. And I have another one here that I use sometimes, not much. Like I can't remember last time I used actually for playing chords, but I have it here just in case I need something really heavy. It's kind of the metal. There was a pedal called Metal Zone, kind of in that line, super heavy, like for heavy metal, like that type of music. So I don't use much, but I have here, and I might do some lead lines with that. That ones I do use sometimes. Yeah, for lead lines I think it works well. And the last thing I have is a boost. So for example, if I want a bit louder, it gives a little more sound, which here on Instagram you won't hear much, but when you're live, that small difference, it is a big thing when you have like speakers, everything's much louder, so the difference will be a lot. And that's pretty much how I run my sounds for faster worship songs. Hopefully that will help you guys, give you some ideas. So just go and make some good sounds.